Hi guys, and welcome back to another DrAce video, and today we're going to be playing Ride 4 once again. This is going to be more helmet cam gameplay on board the MV Agusta Brutale 800. Now, George in the comment section below in the last video mentioned about some tips on how to get better in the helmet cam. And I can honestly say I don't really have much tips, but I'm going to see what I can conjure up here throughout the race. I think most of the time, especially with any sort of racing, you always look towards the apex of the corners and out of the corner. I think upon braking, I think that's the most difficult part when you're in helmet cam. I was going to make a dive up in front of Frank Jordan here for the lead, and I would say that concludes the perfect start from the back of the grid to first place in about 5 corners. Pretty impressive. But I would always say, like, especially for the next couple of corners, you always need to look where you are going, but beyond. So you always need to look past the corner that you're approaching. So for example, I'm going to be braking here now into turn 8, and you're going to be constantly looking towards the Road America sign. And then same for the next couple of steps, that when you're in the lean angle, you're always looking for the next corner, waiting to angle it up, because naturally you always walk, drive, maneuver always to what you're looking at. So in this instance, you're always looking beyond the outer edges of the corner to leave the corner. That would be my first point to make with the onboard helmet cam. I think also at the same time, when you're using the helmet cam, you have to try and remember where you are on track. It is a lot more difficult, especially compared to when you're playing a third person. You can see who's around you, you can see who's going to make a lunge, you can see who's in your slipstream. Not quite the case when you're on board with the helmet cam, as Lara Aniston decides to absolutely make a lunge and a half up on the inside that totally messes my rhythm up, and I take to the outside of the track to try and recompose oneself. I gotta say, Lara Aniston in this one was really, really aggressive. I have actually raced her before in the career mode, and she was just as aggressive. We were all on pretty much naked bikes, and yet she rolls up in the Yamaha R6 to try and kick our asses here in Road America. But I think with the braking, I found I brake a lot earlier in the helmet cam than I usually do when I'm in the third person camera. That corner was a bad example because I seem to run it wide quite a few times. It's a very difficult corner to get right. But also, when you're in helmet cam, you lack the visual aids. You can't see how far your rider is leaning, you can't see if the front end is a bit out of shape or if the rear tyre is bucking and weaving. Something you always have to sort of try and imagine when you're on the helmet cam. Well, as far as tips go, I would say treat it the same as you do with third person. But also, don't be afraid to get into the mode and into the sensation of becoming the rider. This is going to sound really silly, but this is how I feel when I play Ride 4, MotoGP, etc. I feel the immersion is the side that I love the most about these games. So, generally I'm sitting at my desk and I'm in my chair. So a lot of the times I will find myself just subconsciously leaning with the TV, leaning with the controller, pushing up for brakes or leaning forward depending on what the situation is and how much of a thingy. I think if you really get into it, like you really zone out, maybe then that would be a little bit easier. I'm not saying that's imperative, I'm not saying that's how you have to get better. But that's something I have always found, that just embracing it and becoming one with the video game just makes the whole experience more fun, and it makes me better at the game somehow. It's hard to explain. But we're going to jump ahead one extra lap here because we didn't really make much of an impression on Lara. I continued to push and I continued to try. I made a couple of mistakes here and there, more so on the throttle, because I find in the helmet cam you can't really predict as well as third person. I always feel that comparing to the third person, I'm not sure when the bike is perfectly straight, so I can then increase the throttle. I find them a little bit too aggressive with the helmet cam. This was an interesting one because I was very tempted to swap back over to the third person camera to catch up to Lara and then return back to the helmet cam, but I didn't. I stuck with the helmet cam and I was determined to catch up. As you can see, we still haven't closed the gap, and that has been another lap. So it was pretty much this entire lap exactly the same again. Just a second advantage. Now, I'm a big believer in if you take over a second advantage, then you've pretty much won it. There is some sort of psychological break into the person in second place when that gap is a second. I wasn't allowing that to happen in this video. I was not going to accept that. We settled for second last time in the Supermotos. Spoilers if you didn't watch that already. Apologies. In this one, I was determined to catch Lara, and I wasn't happy with that aggressive move that we had in the beginning. And I wanted to make this a race. I wanted to really make this a bloody good race. So we managed to close the gap. It's down to 0.4 of a second, leaving turn 8, apologies. So we managed to close the gap into the carousel corner. Just more or less a half a second as we get a bit too close to the rumble strips there. Kissing the curbs. And as you can see, I think Lara's tyre wear was beginning to go. Or I was just getting significantly quicker, but I don't think I was that much quicker. But now we're in the slipstream, on lap 4 of 7. Things are going to get pretty interesting. Regarding tips on the helmet cam, I don't really have much, to be honest with you. I think what I've given you so far is just how I like to play. I'm not necessarily saying that's going to work for everyone, but that's just how I enjoy doing it. But I think with everything, especially swapping between the third person, the helmet cam, and even the other cameras where you have no bike and it's just like the screen. Personally, I hate that camera, I really do. I find that even more difficult. We finally get past Lara, up on the straight. Now at this point, because she was so aggressive, I did hesitate a few times to try and break away because I assumed that she would probably try and make a lunge. I do understand actually, as of today's video, there is a patch out for PlayStation 4, Xbox One and Steam, which affects the aggressive nature of the AI temporarily. I don't think it's going to make too much of a difference, but apparently they have reduced the aggression. Which I don't mind the aggression because it makes it more interesting, especially the Supermoto race. I was very tense towards the end of the race. As we blast past Lara on the R6. And I mentioned last time regarding the looking around when you're in helmet cam. And it's difficult to look around as we take a look at Lara in the background there. I'm quite glad I left the mirrors on this Brutale. So 0.2 down on our previous lap time, which was our best lap. And with a half a second gap to Lara, we could break her here. We have the speed to manage the tyres pretty well. Something that isn't my strong point, but I'm still pushing to try and get better. So I am planning to do more Ride 4 videos, because you guys seem to enjoy it, and I absolutely bloody love making these videos, let me tell you. A few of you requested settings videos, and I think I've mentioned before that I don't really change the settings too often. But I am curious now to see what we can do in a couple of time trials. I'll make a start on some of the time trials, I'll change some of the settings, we'll have certain trail braking and certain parameters. And then we'll move on to another parameter and see which lap time is ultimately the fastest. So 2 seconds slower on this lap. I was beginning to play defensively as Lara Aniston makes a move up on the inside. As we've now been relegated to second place, Frank Jordan 3.5 seconds behind. This shouldn't trouble us too much. I'm going to go for a bloody good lunge here. Well, I thought about it until Lara slams the door shut in my face. I guess that's why the helmet cam's so good, because when the door is slammed upon one's face, you certainly feel it. Beginning lap 6 of 7, the penultimate lap of this Grand Prix here in Road America. Lara Aniston, Dr. Ace battling to the death as I braked very early there. I didn't fancy trying to challenge her into that turn 1 because, again, as mentioned earlier, how bloody aggressive they are. Ride 4 has delivered a new DLC pack, which is Valencia, and apparently this is paid for. I am not aware of the price just yet because I haven't checked, but I will leave an edit on screen so you can see. But as we make an absolutely beautiful move up into turn 5, that is a fantastic move, but we aren't able to hold it. The R6 has much better acceleration than the Brutale. At this point I felt like we can win this, we really can. I felt like I was toying with her in a certain couple of corners. But as you can see, I think as we go on, my cornering got a lot better on this bike. As we try and go around the outside there, but that's not going to work. Back to the drawing board. As the carousel, we have managed to close up on Lara a few times. Can it be here, where we finally take the lead? So really hanging it right, kissing the curb once more, trying to angle it up, ready for make a move up on the Yamaha. And we're through. Defensive block pass. And we're through. I can still see her in the back. But now we have the drive. It's a half a second lead. But if you do have any more suggestions and requests for Ride 4, don't hesitate to let me know in the comment section down below. Of course, as I always mention, I'll always answer all the comments I've given. If you've made the time to make a comment, I'll make the time to respond. That's only fair. I think what would be a neat idea is if you guys pick a bike for me, and we can do some sort of time trial, and I'll customise the bikes in different ways. You could also help me out with suggesting which bikes you want to see next. If it's like the million credit bikes, I can't afford those yet. I don't get too much time to play this game, unfortunately. I think I've only played like 30 or 40 hours of this so far, as Laura Aniston makes another move up on the inside. It's game on now, people. It really is. So sooner or later, I think round here, I stopped to get a screenshot, which you can see as the thumbnail. Pretty neat, huh? I don't know where it stops, but yeah, there it is. I'll probably edit it out. Who knows? I was going to make a move around the outside of Lara Aniston once again. As this Grand Prix is coming to a close, we need the best possible turn 5 we can do here. Braking very late. It's going to be defensive at the same time to make sure that Lara does not have the drive. I think if we're leading at this point, we should win the race. It's about defending, but also trying to book it straight out of there. Book the ticket and get out of this track. So this was the first proper race I've done on the naked bikes. Usually I only do a little bit of racing on the nakeds because I much prefer the sports bikes. But I can honestly say I had an absolute blast using this naked bike. The Brutale is absolutely fantastic. I'm a big fan of MV Agusta bikes in general. So it was a pleasure to use this around Road America. I think Road America is one of those tracks that I only ever play on ride games. I never see them in any other game. But then again, I don't really play many car games. I'm not really a car gamer. I much prefer bikes. Give me 2 wheels over 4 any day of the week. I mean, I have the new F1, but I'm not very good at it. Give me MotoGP. Give me Ride 4. I'm still yet to try the multiplayer out in this game as well, actually. If you are keen to see me have a multiplayer race, let me know in the comment section down below. And if you fancy adding me on Steam, go ahead. My name is DrAce on Steam. I think there's a link in the description below if you want to follow that link. Well, we managed to get the gap to about a second, as we're going to win here in Road America, in the enemy's back garden, Lara Aniston. So that is it. That is another fantastic victory for DrAce. And that was a pleasure to record. Oh yeah, this is the camera I never showed you. How cool is this camera? It's so nice, isn't it? I think I need to incorporate that in more videos, I swear. So guys, as always, thank you very much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed the video. Please like, comment, subscribe if you did, it means a lot. And if you have any further requests or any suggestions for videos, don't hesitate to let me know in the comment section down below, and I shall see you next time. Thanks again guys, and ciao for now.